Welcome to John Ness's Sports Channel again, and today it is League One predictions time. And it's game week 28, stroke 27 for some of them. So it's game week 27, game week 28, whichever club you're with. We're going to start with Bolton versus Northampton. What a game to start with, because if you saw my video, what the hell happened last week? We had Northampton who ground out a 0-0 win away from home at Wycombe, and actually they didn't just grind it out, they were actually in that game to try and win it. They played really well, and on a different day they could have come away with a win. On another different day they could have come away defeated. I think 0-0 was probably about right, but it was a really, really well thought out game that, and Northampton did extremely well. But then you look at Bolton and you think they've been doing so badly. Changed their manager because they kept win. They won against Exeter, lost against Rotherham, won against Lincoln. Before that, there was a win and a lose as well. Then they drew against Cambridge, lost against Charlton. But then last weekend, what they do? They play really, really well. And they win 1-0 against the Huddersfield side that have been showing signs of improving, showing signs that they want to get up there and they want to be in that top 2 or 3. And I think that they very, very well might do. But they lost 1-0 at home to Bolton. So Bolton win 1-0 away at Huddersfield. Totally I didn't believe that was going to happen. And you can tell by my voice, can't you? So two teams that played really well and against really good opposition. Huddersfield at the top, near the top, Wycombe near the top, have been at the top. And both teams got a really respectable result. However, I think Bolton's result was slightly better as improvement-wise. And I think that they overturned a side that were on the improvement, whereas if we look at Northampton, they nearly overturned them completely and won it, but they didn't. But it was still a very good top of the table side, certainly at the beginning of the season. So I find this really, really difficult. I'm sort of talking my way into going one way and going the other. And because of that, I think this is going to be a one goal. This is either going to be 0-0 or it's going to be 1-0 either way. And to be honest, let's see what other people are saying. 2-0, 2-1, 2-0. Everybody seems to be going Bolton. I was thinking there was going to be Bolton, but I'm not going to go with the 2 goals and 3 goals. I don't think it will be. I think it's going to be 1 goal. I'm going to go with Bolton 1, Northampton 0, but this could be completely the opposite way around, couldn't it? And with that in mind, we're now going to go to Burton versus Reading. And of course, Burton, last time, absolutely flattened my team, Rotherham United. Rotherham went into the lead, but then Burton just seemed to come out of it and slaughter us. Bodvarsson, obviously, their new signing, scoring on 8 and 41. They seem to have got a striker here that can turn around anything. And if you look at the game, they had 15 shots, 7 of them, half of them, well, more than half, just under half on target. 7 out of 15. You have to be believing that these guys have started shooting now to kill. And it looks like they're going to do it because they're. I think they're going to get out of that bottom. They're playing really well. They're playing a Reading team who have had a bit of a blip of late, haven't they? A win against Mansfield, win against Cambridge, draw against Charlton, and then we see the slide. Okay, Burnley 3-1 defeat at home in the FA Cup, but I don't think they played that badly, to be honest. But then it seemed to have affected them because what we've got is a Stockport defeat 3-1, an Orient defeat 2-0. Now, Orient are playing really well of late, aren't they? And it's a bad time to be playing them. And it was away, so didn't do too badly. I think that Reading are probably, I mean, they're in 8th. And they're playing like an 8th place side. They're playing really well. But they do have an occasional blip, an occasional odd result that comes in. The only trouble is, if we wipe out the FA Cup, because it was against Burnley, 2 defeats and a draw in the league the last 3 times out, you have to believe that's going to affect their mentality, especially against a Burton side that are firing on both cylinders. Other people saying 2-1, 2-2, 2-1. I do believe that that Burton will be winning this. However, I think that Reading need to turn this around, and they will be trying their best to get on that score sheet and try and get on there first. I don't think Rotherham got on the score sheet first, and it made no blooming difference. And I dare say it won't make any difference if Reading score first. I'm going to go with, most of the people I've read online. Burton 2, Reading 1. Then it's Charlton versus Bristol Rovers. I want to look at the league table here first. And Charlton are in 10th on 40 points. Bristol Rovers are in 18th on 28. And you'd be thinking, well, that's a big gap, isn't it? And it is. Well, they're at the wrong end of the gap up to where the sort of Stevenage, Wigan and Exeter just starting to pull away from them. The trouble is here, they've only drawn 4. They've actually lost 14. So they're not even drawing games they should be winning. They're losing them. So I'm a little bit more inclined to go for the Charlton, because Charlton are capable of playing some really technical football, and I think over the January window they've been doing reasonably well. I think that they've been trying to get that team gelled a little bit better and more consistent, I think is the word. What's Charlton been doing? A win against Wycombe, a draw against Reading, the FA Cup defeat to Preston and Wipeout, a defeat against Rotherham 4-2, and realistically, that should have been 6 or 7 goals for Rotherham, and it really should. Bolton win straight after that, 2-1. Obviously, manager getting sacked soon after, and a win 1-0 against Shrewsbury. Now, Shrewsbury have been doing quite well of late. They've been improving nice and steadily, like I said in the last few reviews and predictions, and steadily improving through the whole 90 minutes. And I think 1-0 win away at home to Shrewsbury for Charlton was probably a good result, considering that they were playing a side that was improving. On the other hand, Bristol Rovers lose a win against Cambridge, Ipswich defeat in the FA Cup, we can't really count that. Barnsley win 3-1. Now this is what I'm talking about with Bristol Rovers, and it is the same as Shrewsbury. The likening between the two of these teams are actually a lot more than what you think. Bristol Rovers can justify winning, bang, really good teams, and then they'll lose against a team that you expect them to win against. So they won against Barnsley at home 3-1. They lost away 2-0 to Wigan, and this is before Wigan started to bring in. Probably just as they started to bring in 1 or 2 players. So we can possibly write that off a little bit against 1 or 2 new players were probably in the side on Saturday. So. They're not. That wasn't too unexpected. However, they have lost of the league games 3 out of the last 5 games, and things aren't really going as well for them. And it seems to be a mix of home and away games. So we can't say they're worse away from home, but they are playing a side in Charlton that are starting to tick and starting to click, and they're starting to get that rhythm back, that technical ability that we saw against Rotherham when they came back to draw with us at their ground, and all of a sudden they're starting to play like that again, and I'm enjoying watching them. All of a sudden, I wasn't in the middle because they stopped playing that technical football. I think that Charlton will win this one. I think Bristol Rovers have the ability to score, and we know Charlton can let goals in, although they are at home. So I'm going to go with Charlton 2, Bristol Rovers 1. And we move on to Exeter versus Orient. Now, Exeter have been playing pretty steady. They're not going on massive. Well, they're not going on any winning streaks. They don't really get losing streaks. I mean, you get the Wycombe defeat, the Bolton defeat, and then the FA Cup win at home to Oxford. Birmingham defeat. Peterborough draw away, a Blackpool home defeat 3-1. Now Exeter are, to me, they're playing a sort of middle sort of upper bottom half of League One football, and they are in 17th. Now down there used to be Orient, and Orient now are just ridiculous. They seem to have just taken off. My friend Roy, from a subscriber from Mansfield, this is his team to watch, Orient, and I'm not surprised not surprised why he's chosen. Bristol Rovers win 3-2 as well, away from home. Shrewsbury win. Derby County draw. Now that was actually really good, because you would expect a team mid League One to have no chance against a Championship team. Draw in League One, Peterborough 0-0. Stevenage defeat in the Mickey Mouse Trophy 1-0, but it is the Mickey Mouse Trophy. And then Reading 2-0 win last time out at home. I think that Orient are on fire. I don't think Exeter want to lose another home game, but I just can't see them getting too much against this. What are you saying? 1-1, 1-2, 2-3. I'm going to go with Exeter 1, Orient 2, but it could be 3-1 to Orient quite easily on that one. And we'll go to our friends Lincoln versus Blackpool. And Lincoln City, really good. They started the season right at the top, really playing for those top 6 places, and now in 11th. Blackpool really didn't click, did they, at the beginning? Then they changed manager. They started to improve really suddenly, and then they seem to have dropped back. They're now in 14th position. It's going to be a quite an interesting game, this, because you've got one on the up, one on the down. But have we? Because Lincoln City last 2 times out were Northampton 1-0 win away, and then the last time out Peterborough 5-1 win at home. And Peterborough are usually quite good in this league. They can play some good football. They really should be up in the top 10, if not in the top 6. So this change in style and how they play doesn't seem to have quite clicked. It did at the beginning of the season, but it just seems to have stopped. So I think Lincoln City's win was made all the better because they can play some good football, and they have done at the beginning. So 5-1 win to me was really good. Blackpool lose, draw, and a win last time out against Exeter away 3-1. I just think that Blackpool is still sticking. They're still not quite got the edge to win games that they really need to be winning. And the games like that. Okay, Wycombe, that was probably a good draw. Huddersfield, I can agree with some of these people obviously on there now shouting at me. Yeah, that was a good draw, absolutely. And Birmingham 0-0, that was a damn good draw. But really, 1-1 against Shrewsbury. Shrewsbury can pull out the odd super performance, as I've just said in one of the other earlier on. And Wrexham 2-1 defeat was pretty. Look who they're playing. So Blackpool have been getting the odd point, and they've been getting the odd point against top sides. So I'm going to change the way I said that. Blackpool haven't been doing very well as far as points are concerned, but look who they've been playing. And now they're playing a side that are starting to come down as they start to improve. I actually think Lincoln are going to find this a little bit tougher than what they think. And if they think that Blackpool are going to be overcome really easy because they're at home and because they've only won 1 out of their last 6 games, I think that would play into the hands of Blackpool because their manager is obviously extremely knowledgeable, and he will be hoping that they will underestimate his Blackpool team. So, and I think that's what's going to happen. Lincoln are going to go out there, they're going to score, they're going to get over ambitious, thinking that they're going to absolutely kill Blackpool off, and it's just going to play into the hands of Blackpool. Now, whether I go for a Blackpool win or a Blackpool draw, I'm not quite sure, but I think that Lincoln will score first. I think it's going to be a Lincoln 1, Blackpool 1, and we're going to go for a nice draw. So we go Mansfield in 12th now, dropping down the table against Crawley in 23rd, and just starting to feel the heat of this idea that they're just not consistent enough for the whole 90 minutes. And a lot of people are agreeing with me on this one. They play great for 40-45 minutes, and the rest of the game they seem to just collapse. And it's where this if the 45 minutes are at the beginning, they can try and hold on to the win, hold on to the lead. But if it's at the end, they're chasing a draw, and more often than not. So it's really difficult to see a Crawley doing something here. Lose, draw, lose. Although they did draw against Burton, who are starting to play really well, 1-1, and they played Exeter 4-4. What a game that was! You know, they're in the lead. And they allowed, in their poor period, Exeter to come back and equalise very late on, wasn't it? I was hearing it direct from an Exeter fan at the weekend, how amazing that game was. You know, they thought it was done and dusted at half-time. They were ready to go home. Mansfield versus Crawley. Mansfield lose, win, and then lose. But it's against Wigan, Wycombe and Cambridge. And 3-2 against Cambridge. Mansfield didn't have Lee Gregory in it. They brought him on from the bench. That sounds like he's slightly not quite fit. If they can get Lee Gregory on the pitch, I think they'll win this one very easily. I'm going to take it that he will be playing at some point, but he probably won't be playing straight off from the beginning. We are midweek. It's probably, yeah. I'm going to take it that he will be on that pitch at some point, and that will be hopefully during the period, or possibly during the period where Crawley don't play well. In which case, I think it's going to be quite an interesting game. So what score do I think we're going to get? We look at what people are saying: 3-1, 2-1, 2-0. I'm going to go one against. I'm going to go with Mansfield 3, Crawley 1. There we are, Roy. That's your result. That's your result done. Let's go on to the next one: Peterborough versus Wigan. So Wigan is 16th on 33. Peterborough in 19th on 27. Not used to seeing Peterborough down here. And I wasn't expecting Wigan down here. Wigan have been busy though, haven't they, in the January window? Haven't they been improving? And they have not been bad signings. These have actually been pretty good signings, I think. They seem to be quite targeted signings. I hope they are. Perhaps Wigan fans can tell me whether they think they're targeted signings and whether they're good signings. That'd be very nice of you to comment. Peterborough, what seems to have gone wrong? Started well, sort of drew off a little bit And of late they've started to just almost stutter along. A win, the Virtue Trophy win, okay, it's only a Mickey Mouse trophy, 4-2 against Walsall, but at least they showed they can actually play some good football with a limited side. Wrexham, and we got the FA Cup as well. Wrexham defeat 1-0 though, so they did really well there. Orient 0-0. When Orient are doing really well, that's a good result. Exeter 1-1 at home. They didn't play very well there, and then they played pretty poorly away at Lincoln City because Lincoln City aren't playing that well, and they won. They got defeated 5-1 away. Now they do seem to have an issue here with something. Perhaps the Peterborough fans can tell me what it is, because I can't from the actual stats work out what the hell's going wrong. So I would really love to know. On the whole, though, with Wigan going lose, win, lose, win. The last win was at Bristol Rovers, possibly with one or two of those new signings. Burton defeat before that, and Burton are starting to put things together. 2-1 defeat against them. You're thinking Wigan are really starting to tick here. And I just think that Wigan have the edge on this one. It's a case of, what are you saying? 1-0 to Wigan, 1-0 to Wigan, and a 2-2 draw. I think that Wigan will win it, but I think that Peterborough can always score. Okay. That was against Everton, so you wouldn't expect a goal there. Wrexham they didn't score against. Orient they didn't score against. FA Cup they didn't, but never mind. They do tend to score one or two. I want to think that Peterborough at home will score one. I'm going to Peterborough 1, Wigan 2. And we'll go on to the next one, which is Rotherham versus Cambridge. Now, Rotherham have actually improved. They have improved. Lincoln City 1-0 win away. Huddersfield 0-0 draw, which realistically, there was some very iffy refereeing decisions on that. I think we should really have snuck a win on that. Bolton 3-1 win at home. Chesterfield 0-0 in the Mickey Mouse Trophy. We managed to get through on that. Charlton 4-2 win at home, but we should have been at least 6 or 7. Burton, then we get slaughtered 4-2 after going 1-0 ahead, and just gave it to them. But their striker that they've got in is absolutely amazing, isn't he? The Burton striker. That was a great signing. That's all I can say, and I can see it really proving really good for them. Cambridge, on the other hand, lose, draw against Bolton, but Bolton haven't been playing well at that point. But then they win 3-2 against Mansfield last time out, and they're starting to show that they can actually do things here. And then they get a song. Obviously, Rotherham let a song back to Nottingham Forest, and Nottingham Forest have immediately sent him straight back out to Cambridge. Oh, great. Who's going to score for Cambridge? I reckon it's going to be a song, and I think a song's going to score first. Now, saying that, these two sides are pretty good. Cambridge of late, and Cambridge have actually, you can't say that it's home or away, because the last but one game, 2-2 against Bolton Wanderers, was away. And I think the defence can be a little bit iffy though. So those two games both let in 2 goals. So I think that their striking partnership is doing really well. Their forward line is doing really well. But that defence can be a little bit iffy. Can Rotherham get past that? Well, actually, they've been showing that they can score really good goals, and they can score quite well now. And there's 1 or 2 players, the new guy and Green, who can score goals quite well in this league. So I'm thinking that Rotherham will win this one. It's a case of how many. I think it's going to be... Where are Cambridge? Because I can see them pulling up, and they are pulling up. They're in 22nd position on 21 points. They've won 5, drawn 6, lost 15. Yeah, I can see this being not as one-sided as some people are thinking. That's what people are thinking. 2-1, 3-2, 2-1. And I'm actually agreeing with most of you. I'm going to go Rotherham 2, Cambridge 1 with our ex striker coming on and scoring first for Cambridge. Yeah, so watch out for that one. I will quickly, please, move on to the next game. Stockport County in 5th against Shrewsbury in 24th. Now, you have to be considering this as a walkover, don't we? With Stockport doing so well in the in the league, and yeah, they did have a bit of a blip. The last 6 games have been a draw away at Rotherham, a draw at home to Birmingham, which would have been a good result. A defeat at home to Mansfield, who at that point weren't playing that well. Defeat to Palace, but that's in the FA Cup, so we don't count that one. Reading win away, 3-1, and a Crawley win at home, 2-0. Now, Crawley, I'm sorry, at home you should be beating Crawley. We know they play really well for parts of the game. I expected that one. That was probably the only result that I expected, to be quite honest. From that weekend, anyway. Reading, though, that was a good win away at Reading, because Reading can play really well at home, and they deserve to be a little bit higher than where they are. They have been, really high up, haven't they? And then they start just like drop off a little bit. Where are they at the minute? See, Reading are 8th at the minute. So they sort of ran all the way up the top of the league and at top end, and they sort of like just hovered around a little bit. So I think that Stockport versus Shrewsbury is going to be an interesting game. Why? Because Stockport won their last 2. They're on a roll. They're at home. Yeah, they've had a few rough patches of late, and I think they want to try and pull that performance back again. They've now got a good team in there, and hopefully the injuries have waned off a little bit, and I think that's going to bode well for them. However, Shrewsbury are capable of pulling off the odd remarkable win. Lincoln City win, a draw. The only 2 defeats in the last 6. The defeat 1-0 away at Orient, but Orient are playing extremely well. They're the form team at the minute for me. And then they won against Wrexham at home 2-1. A really good performance by Shrewsbury. And then they lost last time out against Charlton. And to be honest, I could see Shrewsbury getting something from that, and I think they should have got something from it, but they just didn't quite have the edge in the final third, which was really disappointing. They should have. I think they could have got. I think it was one shot, wasn't it? But they could quite easily have pushed a little bit more and got into that final third a bit more, and pushed them and got that equaliser. So I think they can do it. It's a case of, will they do it against a Stockport side? And again, I'm going to say this. I think that Stockport will be underestimating Shrewsbury Town, and I can see Shrewsbury Town coming away with something. I actually think that they might come away with a draw. Let's see what you're saying. 1-1. So someone has actually thought it's going to be a draw. 2-0 to Stockport, 1-0 to Stockport. I'm actually going to agree with the draw. I'm going to go Stockport County 1, Shrewsbury Town 1, and we're going to upset a few people. Instead of giving me a dislike, do give me a comment. Disliking just stops the video from being advertised by YouTube. Give me a chance to get out there and let other people enjoy it. Give me a comment instead. Vent your frustrations out on me in the comments section. I don't mind that. We can have a chat about it. I don't mind. I'm always open to a chat. And we'll move on to Wrexham versus Stevenage. Now, obviously, Wrexham are still splashing the cash, still getting out there to improve their squad even more. How the hell are they going to... They have started to change their format. They're no longer going always 5 at the back. Because they realise, I think people were saying, just give the ball to them, because if they've got 5 along at the back, always staying back there, when they lose it in defence half the time, which means you can just walk through defence and have a shot on goal. So how do you beat Wrexham? Well, you used to be able to just give them the ball, and that was what people were saying. To give them the ball, you'll get a shot at goal. That seems to have changed. However, changing doesn't seem to have helped them results-wise. Blackpool win, Wigan win, Barnsley defeat, Peterborough win, Shrewsbury Town defeat. Remember that, you see, what we said before, suddenly losing against Shrewsbury Town. And then a draw against Birmingham. Now, they were actually the better side against Birmingham, but remember, Birmingham have got a hell of a lot of team members out. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens here, because we know that the Birmingham side was quite depleted, and they couldn't win them, even though they did have the upper hand from most of the game. Stevenage then. Where is Stevenage? With Wrexham in 3rd. Stevenage are in 15th. Again, they've been up and down this season. They're not far away from the 5th, 6th slot in the league. Win, draw, lose against Wigan, the only defeat in the last 6, and then a win against Bolton Orient, who are playing remarkably well, and a win against Barnsley, who have been putting in some good performances, but just of late started to not do so well. To me, it's a difficult game, this one, because I can see that Stevenage are starting to get some really good performances together. I think those last 2, possibly the last 3, were actually good performances. And they're playing a Wrexham side that's just stuttering a little bit. Will these brilliant players that they're getting in make a difference? Yeah, they've got a gel. I'm not quite sure. Let's see what people are thinking. 0-0, 1-0 to Wrexham, 3-0 to Wrexham. I still think that Wrexham will do it. It's either going to be a 0-0 or a 1-0 to Wrexham. Which way shall we go? We'll go Wrexham 1, Stevenage 0, but it could be a 0-0, that one. And we'll go to Wycombe versus Barnsley, because we've just been talking about Barnsley, haven't we? The way in which they just seem to have dropped off of late. In fact, we'll go to them first. Win, lose. Yeah, they dropped off. They had a few wins put together. And they were against Bolton, Peterborough, Wrexham and Crawley. But then they didn't take that momentum forward, and they lost away at Bristol Rovers 3-1, and then they lost at Stevenage 1-0 at home. They can just do stupid things, and they don't seem to be able to fight back as much as they used to be able to. They were renowned for fighting back from being behind and equalising. They don't seem to be doing that of late. And they're playing a Wycombe side. Yeah, well, there's been a few changes in the side. Absolutely. Will they be able to come out as good? I think that was answered against Northampton, where it was 0-0. And Northampton could. Northampton's defence kept them at bay very well. And that's really good testament. I think they had 1 shot on target or something like that, Northampton. So they did stop them from getting in there. And I think that to me, it's not going to be a high-scoring game for Barnsley. However, what about Barnsley's defence? Barnsley's defence is a little bit more rocky, I think. And I think, to me, if we look at the defences, I think that Wycombe's is slightly better and more solid. I think that the attacking side, though, at the minute, I would go for Barnsley. So it's a little bit difficult. Like, I can see the defence has been really on the Wycombe side being good, but the Barnsley attack is a lot better. I can see that the Barnsley defence isn't as good, but the Wycombe strike force isn't quite ticking as good as what it used to. So it's going to be difficult. And what are you saying? 1-2 to Barnsley, 2-1 to Barnsley, 2-1 to Wycombe, 3-1 to Wycombe. You know, I'm going to sit on the fence in this one. I can't help it. I'm sorry, guys. Tell me that I'm wrong if you want. Please do. I'm going Wycombe 1, Barnsley 1. I really can't separate these two out. So how are we going to Huddersfield versus Birmingham? And Huddersfield, this is going to be a difficult one because Huddersfield are playing some good football and they've been improving. I think a win, a draw, a win, a draw, a defeat against Bolton last time out, which really came as a shock. They should have won it, and they should have won it by quite a bit, but Bolton came out fighting, and their defence really did get rock solid for once. And they're playing a Birmingham side that had so many injuries. Thanks to the commenter from my What Happened at the Weekend video, who's a Birmingham fan. Several of their players are out. Even if they start to get them back in, or they're probably going to put them on the bench first. And if they put them in the first team, they're not going to be playing at their top edge until they've had 1 or 2 games under their belt. So there's so many injuries in that team. Yeah, I can see why Birmingham drew 1-1 away at Wrexham. They nearly lost it because Wrexham were actually on top in that game for most of the game. And I was listening to the Sky presenter saying that, so that's not my view, that's Sky's view. So, of late, yeah, the Exeter win, for instance, 1-0, I still think that should have been a little bit more, because at that point, Exeter weren't doing very well, and they just 1-0, they had the ability and the possession to be able to do more than that. But Huddersfield, win, draw, win, draw, lose against Bolton. Yeah, they're a little bit hit and miss. I'd probably have to go with most of you, because I can't really split these two personally, because I know Huddersfield are starting to do really well, and they are at home. I think that hit and miss attitude at home will not present itself, and they're against a Birmingham side that are really well depleted. It's a case of, you know, how that depletion will hurt them. What are you saying? Huddersfield 1-1, 1-1, 2-1 to Birmingham. I'm just going to go with you. Huddersfield 1, Birmingham 1. And thank you very much for watching. It's John S.'s Sports Channel. Please like and subscribe. If you don't like it, just give me a comment. You know, it does harm the channel if you start doing a dislike. Give me a comment. I would prefer you to comment. Let's have a discussion about it. And if I think you're right, I do, and I have said that I was wrong in the next video. So please do comment. And it's John S.'s Sports Channel, over and out for one more League One prediction.